But first, a new scientific study underlines the truth of the old phrase, dogs are a man's best friend. According to researchers in Sweden, dog owners live longer. Their figures show that of people who live alone, those who have a dog have a 36% chance of living longer than those who don't have a pet. Malcolm Brabant begins his report from Uppsala, north of Stockholm.
Tova Fowle practices what she preaches. She's got a dog called Vega. An epidemiologist, she's an expert in disease and public health who's just conducted what's claimed to be the biggest ever study of its kind, matching the health records of a third of the Swedish population with dog ownership data.
What we see here in this really large study, where we look at more than 3.4 million people for 12 years, we see clear evidence that dog owners live longer.
Vega's owner has confidence in her findings because of the magnitude of the sample size, using the identification system that tracks every Swede's lifelong interaction with state institutions.
It's really accurate in terms of we know the exact date of hospitalizations for cardiovascular disease, we know the date of birth of the dog, and so on.
The Centre for Disease Control says heart disease is America's leading cause of death. Fowle's prescription? There ain't nothing like a hound dog.
Dog owners do much more physical exercise. When it's dark and grey here in Sweden and rainy, the only people you see outdoors are people with dogs. So, and you know that physical activity is good for a lot of different health outcomes.
So can dogs delay your exit? There are doubting voices from across the North Sea. Caesar, sit. Sit. Oh, okay, sit. That's a good boy, okay? Good boy. Good boy. Sit. I've got to do a piece to camera. Just wait a minute. Okay? Okay, there you go. You can have it. Okay. According to a new study called All Creatures Great and Small, which has just been published in the British Medical Journal, having a pet is not going to keep you young. The study, conducted by scientists at the University College London, looked at 9,000 people with an average age of 67, and they looked at key aging markers such as walking speed, lung function, grip strength, memory and depression, and they determined that having a pet did not necessarily make any difference to the aging process whatsoever. There's a good boy. The authors did concede, however, that walking a dog could help weight and cardiovascular problems. The British scientists also said dog owners were more likely to be in poorer health and lonely. But Tova Fowle's findings for single people with dogs, using a substantially bigger database, were completely different. She says their mortality rates are improved by 36%. This rang true with homeless people being helped on a December day by volunteers in Copenhagen. With winter beginning to bite, an animal charity was doing brisk business. Veterinarian Ricky Lee.
We're an animal shelter, we want to care for the dogs, but we also know that these people, a lot of them, it's their best friend, it's their only companion. So helping the dogs helps the people. And then one thing we always find is that these dogs are really well cared for. They are the priority of these people.
And Lee believes the dogs are lifesavers.
Their dogs are their soulmate. They're the reason they get up in the morning. They are a way of keeping warm here in the wintertime, especially in the northern climates like Denmark. And I think they're the reason for them to be alive.
Kim Hasselstrom isn't asking for a free hot dog for himself. He wants it for Molly, his canine companion, whom he credits for saving him from suicide during darker periods living rough.
I have only Molly. I'm living in the street. I lose my family. So Molly is 95% of my life. Because every day I maybe not happy. Look at the dog one time, then you're happy. The dog is all time they're happy. Because if you don't like so little dog, when they come to you, then you don't like anything.
The volunteers fit a jacket to keep Bandit warm during the harsh Scandinavian winter.
I've been living on the street for 8 years now, and I'm almost never sick. Not even fever or cold. Nothing.
Klaus Hansen is in no doubt what would happen to him if he didn't have Bandit to keep him company.
Oh, probably lie in a corner drunk or hanging in a tree somewhere. Actually, the dog helps me in many ways. Also my health, and also I don't get so much crazy in the head. You know, when you're sitting alone all day and thinking, you go in the same rounds all day. It was nice to have a dog to talk with.
200 miles away at one of Denmark's leading neurocentres, the benefits of dogs in human healthcare are being assessed and promoted. Blida, an Icelandic sheepdog, is about to try to help a brain-damaged patient. Project manager Galina Plesner.
The dogs, they can actually provide extra motivation to do the therapy, to do the movements that the patients are required to make.
Blida lives up to the translation of her Icelandic name. It means gentle. Her patient today is 72-year-old Eric, who's been crippled by a brain hemorrhage. A tracheotomy means he can't speak. He's bedridden and he's receiving therapy to try to regain basic motor skills. The staff hope the dog can enhance his progress. The gentle one is keen to get to work, and it looks like the feeling is mutual.
When you go into rehabilitation like this, you've suffered a trauma and you need to get back on track, back into life. And the therapy has to do with training everyday movements.
Eric is working to reward the sheepdog by fitting small treats into the game.
For some people, the dogs will motivate them to maybe work a little bit longer, and it's a bit more fun than being in a therapeutic kitchen or therapeutic bathroom in order to train the movements that you're required to be able to do.
Tina Hogan is Eric's therapist.
Certainly a lot of progress since he was here last time. Eric suffers from muscle atrophy in both his hands, so he has trouble reaching out and grabbing stuff, and that's why we chose the games we chose.
The final test of the session is the toughest, putting dog treats in a ball.
Dogs are non-judgmental. So when you have a patient who has suffered a trauma, for example, or an old person who has dementia, they will know that there are requirements in the environment that they can't live up to. And dogs, they don't have those requirements, and it's intuitively recognized that you don't have to live up to anything with the dog.
The Icelandic sheepdog is clearly happy with her rewards.
I think it's very important not to call it magic, even though perhaps something unique is going on that we can't measure. But I think it doesn't have to be magic. It can be very, very powerful and very both emotional and strong, the effect that you see.
The foundation wants to expand the number of rehabilitation programs involving dogs. Back in Sweden, Vegazona is planning new research to determine whether dogs can benefit humans in other ways. This is a time of year when thousands of puppies, given as presents, are discarded by their new owners. This Swedish study would suggest they're rejecting the gift of health. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Malcolm Brabant in Scandinavia.